Presenting Shakespeare's Imaginary Fame. The consensus among these Shakespearean scholars is that Shakespeare was a famous playwright in his time. Does the evidence hold up for that claim? Let's take a look at the evidence. Here are some well-known facts. Nobody in London noticed he was dead in 1616. There were no eulogies printed or written. Nobody visited Stratford-upon-Avon to pay homage to their great peer. There are no letters either to him or from him in any archives other than the unsent Richard Quiney letter. No document from his lifetime calls him a famous anything, let alone a writer. The inscription in Stratford does not call him a writer. The following 9 slides are from my video, Orphans and Guardians. From 1594 to 1602, the quartos of Shakespeare's plays were published 13 times as orphans, or anonymously. This is Exhibit A. Presenting Exhibit B. During the same period from 1594 to 1602, 9 plays were published as guardians, with the byline attached to the quarto. Exhibit C shows that from 1603 to 1615, 11 plays were published as orphans, without the byline. Exhibit D shows that an equal number of plays were published from 1603 to 1615 as guardians with the byline William Shakespeare. Draw your attention to Exhibit E, where we show 20 guardians and 24 orphans. Based on this evidence, the name was therefore not so lucrative. Presenting Exhibit F. In 1597, Richard II was published by Valentine Sims for Andrew Wise, without the name. Exhibit G shows the title page for the 1598 quarto of Richard II that has the byline William Shakespeare. Exhibit H shows the quarto of Romeo and Juliet without the name from 1622. Exhibit I shows Romeo and Juliet from the same year, published with the name. Both quartos were published by John Smethwick. Let's take a look at some more evidence. Presenting Exhibit J. A restitution of decayed intelligence in antiquities concerning the most noble and renowned English nation by Richard Vestigern, also known as Richard Rowland. Published in 1634. This is the first page of the contents, showing 6 chapter titles. This shows the second page of the table of contents, showing that Chapter 8 is the etymologies of the ancient Saxon proper names of men and women. Here is the title page for that chapter. Presenting Exhibit K, the entry for spear in Chapter 8. It straddles 2 pages. Rowland placed this name, Nicholas Breakspere, at the top of the entry for Spear. Who was Nicholas Breakspere? He was the only English pope, Adrian IV. Rowland deemed him so important that he wrote a capsule biography of him. Nicholas Breakspere, an Englishman of a worshipful family, the ancient residence whereof, as some hold, was about St. Albans. He was chosen pope, and then bore the name of Adrianus Quartus. There is no mention of a William Shakespeare anywhere in this entry. How can that be if Shakespeare was so famous and the first folio was in print for more than a decade? Notice the medial E is missing, as in nearly all of the Shakespeare legal documents. If the playwright was as famous as scholars say, the name would likely have had that medial E in Rowland's entry under Spear. Presenting Exhibit M, the second folio. It was published 2 years earlier than the Restitution of Decayed Intelligence in 1632. It took 9 years for the first edition to sell out, based on this publication date. Going back to Exhibit L, according to Rowland's entry in his book, Adrian IV was more important than Shakespeare, despite having had 2 folio editions of his plays published. This is more evidence of Shakespeare's lack of fame. Here are a couple of odd coincidences to ponder. The gematria sum of all uppercase letters in the paragraph is 102, or 17 times 6. 102 subtract 4, the number of Adrian's succession, he was Adrian IV, of course, is 98. We have seen these numbers numerous times before in the Shakespeare authorship game. In the interest of fairness, we will ignore these simple numbers. Of course, Exhibit L does not have William Shakespeare in it whatsoever. Exhibits A through M is evidence that the name was not so lucrative. And of course, when we add to that the facts that nobody in London noticed he was dead, there are no letters either to him or from him in any archives other than the unsent Richard Quiney letter. No document from his lifetime calls him a famous anything, let alone a writer. And the inscription in Stratford does not call him a writer. We can conclude from this evidence that neither the Stratford man nor Shakespeare were famous. When did Shakespeare become famous? When the actor David Garrick held a Shakespeare Jubilee in Stratford in 1769. Ironically, no plays by Shakespeare were performed during the event. We have shown conclusively that the evidence does not support the assumption that Shakespeare was famous while he was alive, or even more than a century later. These scholars are mistaken in that assumption. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.